Welcome to Revelation Unraveled. I'm your host, William Tapley, also known as the third eagle of the apocalypse and the co-prophet of the end times. The topic for today's program is the third part of our series on the Olivet Discourse. That is chapters 24 and 25 of St. Matthew. Today we will be looking at verses 27 through 41, which I refer to as the victory verses. And these verses are very significantly divided up into a 5-5-5 sequence. And these 15 victory verses follow the 18 tribulation verses, which are divided up into a 6-6-6 pattern. Now, none of this numerology is accidental. 666, of course, is the number of the Antichrist. And 555, the number which defeats the Antichrist, is the number for Mary's Rosary. Now let's see how St. Matthew breaks these 15 verses down. Now these first 5 verses, that is 27 through 31, describe Armageddon and the pale horse in Revelation. The next 5 verses, that is 32 through 36, Jesus tells the parable of the fig tree, and in so doing gives us the time frame for the end. Now let's look at the next verses, number 37 through 41. Jesus describes the rapture. In fact, in the Olivet Discourse, Jesus spends a great deal of time describing the raptured Protestants who will attend the marriage supper of the Lamb. It's really amazing when you think about it that no Protestant Bible scholar, no Catholic theologian, no pope or bishop has ever understood the numerological significance of these 15 verses and the 5-5-5 sequence. Now let's take a look at this passage verse by verse. Now the first of these 15 victory verses is verse number 27. For as lightning comes out of the east and shines even to the west, so also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Now this coming is Jesus' third coming at Armageddon, when he defeats the Antichrist and the entire New World Order. In Revelation, St. John writes that hell follows after the pale horse. That means this represents the judgment of Jesus on the one world system. In verse 28, Jesus says, wheresoever the body is, there shall the eagles be gathered together. Now the body in this case refers to Jesus himself, and the eagles refer to the 3 groups who are with him at Armageddon: the raptured Protestants, the protected Catholics, and the holy martyrs. Now in the next verse, Jesus describes the second phase of this great chastisement upon earth. Armageddon is the first phase, but the second phase is the end times comet, which will destroy the rest of the Antichrist followers throughout the rest of the planet. And immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. And verse number 30, and then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn. These tribes are the followers of the Antichrist. And they shall see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven, and with great power and majesty. This is not the rapture, because the rapture is private and personal. This is Jesus' third coming, when he comes with power and majesty. Now in the next verse, Jesus again refers to the 3 groups who will be with him at Armageddon. And he shall send his angels with great sound of trumpet. Again, this is Armageddon. And they shall gather the elect from the 4 winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now this last passage, Jesus is not referring about one group. The elect refer to the Catholics, who are protected by Mary in the desert. Those who are in one end of heaven refer to the raptured Protestants, while those in the other end of heaven refer to the holy martyrs. Now let's look at the next 5 verses and the parable of the fig tree, where Jesus gives the exact timing of all these events. In verse number 32, Jesus says, "Now learn a parable from the fig tree. When its branches are still tender, and it puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near." Most Bible scholars understand that this is a prophecy of the rebirth of Israel, which occurred in November of 1947, because that's the date when the United Nations officially declared Israel to be a sovereign state. And Jesus continues, "So likewise, when you see all these things, know that it is near, even at the door. Amen, I say to you, this generation shall not pass until all these things be fulfilled." We know now, of course, that this refers to our present age. The generation he is talking about is our generation. And in the Bible, a generation is 70 years, or 70 years. When you add 70 years to the date that the UN declared Israel to be a sovereign state, you come up with November 2017 as the date for Armageddon. Jesus emphasizes this. "Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away." Now some people look at the next verse and say that it is presumptuous of me to declare when Armageddon will occur. But of that day or hour no one knows, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But remember, Jesus says here that you do not know the day or the hour of these events. But I did not give you the day or the hour. I gave you the month and the year. In fact, when Jesus says this, that you don't know the day or the hour, he is in fact verifying that you can indeed calculate the exact month and year of Armageddon. Now let's look at the last 5 verses of this 555 sequence, which will tell us about the rapture. Verse number 37. "And as it was in the days of Noah, so also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark." Now why should eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage be so bad? After all, every species of animal on the planet must eat and reproduce in order to survive. But that's the whole point. Man is not an animal. Remember what Jesus said. Man cannot live on bread alone, but by every word that comes forth from the mouth of God. In these end times, man is going to try. His one-world communist system will be a government under man, not under God. And as such, it will fail and lead to the near destruction of the human race. In fact, Jesus says that if he does not come at his third coming, there will be no flesh left on earth. "And they knew not until the flood came and swept them all away. So also shall the coming of the Son of Man be." And now Jesus describes those who will avoid these days of tribulation. "Then shall 2 be in the field, one shall be taken, and the other shall be left. 2 women shall be grinding at the mill, one shall be taken, and the other shall be left." Bible scholars all understand that this is the rapture, that those who are taken will be removed from the tribulation. Notice in this parable that there are no trumpet fanfares, there are no archangels, no power or glory. That's because the rapture is private and personal. Notice that 2 times of year are mentioned here. The men are working in the field, that's probably before the harvest, and the 2 women are grinding at the mill. That's probably after the harvest. If we look at St. Luke's account, there are different times of day mentioned also. The 555 sequence symbolizes the rosary, because that is the weapon which Jesus will use to defeat the Antichrist. Now, if you would like more information, simply write to the address you see on your screen.